Muy buenos días a todos. Bueno, lo siento, no soy Jessica Federer, así que esto lo vais a tener que repetir dentro de un momento. Sin embargo, sí que quiero agradeceros por venir en este segundo día de FICOT. Me permitirán las autoridades, a quien les doy la bienvenida, que me dirija por un momento a los jóvenes. Hoy nos acompañan una gran parte del auditorio, es muy joven, y quiero darles la bienvenida y también un mensaje cariñoso de joven a joven, que es que hoy tenemos la oportunidad de ver a una persona que es una crack. Hay pocas personas que puedan hablar de cómo será el mundo del futuro, qué es la transformación digital como ella. Así que quiero dar un mensaje a los más jóvenes de que tenéis que aprovechar lo que vais a ver. Será en inglés. Algunos habéis cogido la traducción. Sé que muchos no lo necesitáis. Vivimos en un país casi bilingüe, así que simplemente espero que lo disfrutéis, eso sí, que lo hagáis con respeto, porque Jessica es americana y no le gusta a los chavales españoles que hacen ruido. Así que os quiero agradecer. Si queréis hacer ruido, el momento de gritar es ahora, no después. Bien. Fijaos que me esperaba que nadie lo hiciera y dijera, no, realmente nadie quiere gritar, en el fondo queremos ver la conferencia. Sin embargo, me gusta que hayamos tenido este momento de adrenalina hormonada. Ahora sí, lo importante es dar la bienvenida a nuestra ponente de hoy. Os voy a contar un poco quién es y de dónde viene. Jessica Federer es y ha sido trabajadora de Bayer. Bayer es una empresa que, además de curar dolores de cabeza, tiene un equipo de fútbol. El Bayer Leverkusen nació a partir de los 4 chavales de Bayer que jugaban al fútbol y hoy tienen uno de los estadios más grandes de Alemania. No es difícil encontrar buenos jugadores si tu empresa tiene 119.000 trabajadores, uno de los cuales es Jessica. Jessica, sin embargo, es uno de los más importantes. Para que os hagáis una idea, empezó en el mundo de la burocracia. Tenía que hablar con gobiernos para que aprobaran medicamentos y pasó de un mundo tan gris, burocrático, a un mundo tan colorido como es el de la transformación digital. Hoy está liderando el cambio, la transformación, y está consiguiendo que 119.000 personas entiendan la importancia de este cambio. Además, contaremos con una persona de lujo que la va a entrevistar después con vuestras preguntas. Así que os invito durante su conferencia a ir pensando qué le queréis preguntar, porque oportunidades como esta de escucharla, la verdad, al menos en nuestro país, es que no son muchas. Para que tengáis alguna idea, el grupo Bayer facturó 42.200 millones, pero más que la facturación, que puede ser mucha, y a pesar de eso no invertir en nada, os contaré que Bayer realizó inversiones por 2.500 millones y destinó 3.600 millones a investigación y desarrollo. En general, dedican una gran parte de lo que tienen, lo que hacen, a buscar curas, nuevas maneras de hacernos la vida mejor. Os pido que recibáis como se merece a Jessica Federer.
Good morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Buenos días. Good morning. Oh, I almost heard it. Good morning. I love being in Spain. So I have to start with an apology. I'm speaking English. I'm sorry. But thank you for bearing with me and having your translators. It is wonderful to be here in Madrid, in Spain. Yeah, you heard it. I almost said Barcelona. The reason I love Spain so much is because at Bayer we have an incredible team in Barcelona, and I have some colleagues from Barcelona here with me today. And we were talking backstage, and I said, Spain is amazing because we come up with a digital idea with the team in Barcelona, and they just do it. They get it done. If you go to Germany, we have a little more process, a little more time and planning and process before we just get things done. So before I talk to you about a digital transformation at Bayer, I want to get to know you a little. So if you are a digital native, you grew up with computers, with technology, with email. If you are a digital native, make some noise. All right, pretty good. Now, if you are a millennial, that in-between generation, like myself, where you had to learn to sign up to email and learn to transition between two worlds, let's hear some noise. Wait a minute, there's more digital natives than millennials? Let's try that again. If you're a millennial, make some noise. Okay, great. Now, if you are not a digital native and you're not a millennial, you're in this other group of people that pioneered the industry and business, made all of the hard technology steps that got us to where we are today, and you're still trying to figure out how to deal with these millennials and the digital natives. This other group, if you're not a native or a millennial, let's hear you make some noise. All right, so the digital natives have it for today. That helps. Now, all of you are here for a reason. So let's find out why you're here today. Raise your hand if you're here because you want to learn something new about digitalization. Okay. Wow, good. Now raise your hand again if you're here because you want to network and get to know other people in the digital community. Awesome. Now raise your hand again if you're here because you have to be here. Is this a school group back here? Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for coming. So now that I know a little bit about you, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I lead digital development at Bayer. Has anybody heard of Bayer? Yeah? Bayer is not a digital startup. We are not a digital native company. Bayer started 150 years ago when two friends, Friedrich and Friedrich, got together and realized they had an idea. They were going to make synthetic chemical dyes, so dyes for your clothing to make bright colors. And they came up with this idea and started this small company in Germany, in Wuppertal, and started making synthetic dyes. Now, synthetic dyes are made out of chemicals, and chemicals are the building blocks of life. So over the next 150 years, that expertise in chemistry led us to become one of the giants in developing solutions for humans, animals, and plants. So now at Bayer, because of those two friends, Friedrich and Friedrich, coming together with an idea for their startup, which was revolutionary at the time, we now have a company with 100,000 people in 120 countries around the world. So now you're probably thinking, why is this person from a 150-year-old company here talking to us about digital? Digital is new. Digital is about connectivity. It's about technology bringing us together to bridge barriers and work differently. Well, the reason is simple. We know that if Bayer does not become an expert in digital, there will be no Bayer. The future for us is in the digital economy. Now, I met a number of your colleagues from Spain here backstage, and you recognize that the digital economy is growing 7 times faster than the traditional economy. Every country is investing to help digital startups grow. Every company is investing heavily in digital technologies. And all of our customers are adapting digital tools and social media and connectivity and sharing their data. So what we've done at Bayer is have a top-down approach. The board members and our CEOs, my boss, they decided that we were going to prioritize a digital transformation across our entire business, across the human, animal, and plant areas. And so we brought together a community, actually a really big community, called our NERDs, the Network for Enterprise Readiness in Digital. And everybody loves nerds, right? We brought together this strong digital community across the entire business to help us begin looking at the building blocks, the architecture of how to change a 150-year-old company. So how do you change a company? If you were running a 150-year-old company and you saw the digital revolution we have today, what would you do? Where would you start? For us, it's people. We have a saying at Bayer that digital is a people topic, not only a technology topic. Digital is how we work together, it's how we connect. It doesn't mean electronics and the technology tools themselves. It's a way of interacting. So we started with people. What digital talent do we need? What do we have? Do we need more? Start with the people. Then we looked at the processes. At Bayer, we make medicines. We make molecular compounds that interfere with the molecular processes of human, animal, and plant cells. It's complicated, it's expensive. It takes about 10 years and $1 billion and hundreds of researchers around the world. And to go from finding a molecule through the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials, to get a product to a patient or to a veterinarian or to a farmer, that takes process. And in the startup industry, you are very fast and agile. But in a 150-year-old company that has a 10-year development cycle, process is very important. So we started with people, and then we started looking at processes. How do we integrate a digital approach into our processes so we can be more agile? Now, after processes, what else? Platforms. Everybody has a new digital platform. We're collecting data, we're analyzing data, we're sharing data, and we do this on platforms. But where did these platforms come from? If you were in business 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you remember that when a solution came up and you needed to connect with your customers, you tried it. So if you take that on a big scale, every country, every brand team, every group has adopted different solutions. And now fast forward to where we are today, there's a lot of platforms, a lot of tools. And we had to go through and say, okay, which platforms can work together? Which platforms are interoperable? How do we simplify and get to a platform environment which makes it easier for us to work? So we have people, processes, platforms. And the last one, and the one that you all care most about, is partnerships. Bayer is a chemical company. That's our bread and butter. That's our core competency. We make molecules for human, animal, and plant cells. We will never be a technology company. So what we want to do is partner with the best technology companies, partner with agile startups, partner with digital groups that can help us complement what we do best. So we take what we're best at and what you're best at, and we partner for success. So we're going to now have a little bit of a discussion, because I go to a lot of conferences, and I know that if you sit here and you just listen to me talk, it's not nearly as much fun as if I get to hear your questions. So you can tweet your questions right now, and we'll take them from the audience. And we're going to spend the rest of the time engaging in a discussion and a dialogue that's relevant to you about how to embrace digitalization in your company at whatever stage you're in. So before we go to the question and answer, I have to say a thank you to you. All of you made it down here today, came to this wonderful location, and you're sitting here spending your time, the most valuable thing you have, your time, to learn something new about how to use technology to do what we do now better, whether it's making the world a better place by helping in the healthcare environment, whether it's a solution to help people connect faster. All of you are here today taking time out of your lives to spend it with us. So I want to say thank you to you in Madrid and to FICO for being here. And now we'll take some questions. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, Jessica. Well, thank you very much. I won't be the one making the questions. Our public will be the one. But still, we have an amazing person you know to make you the questions. La persona que hará la entrevista a Jessica, él le gusta definirse como un nuevo tipo de híbrido que dominará el mundo, que es este tipo de personas que saben comunicar, pero que a la vez son muy potentes en su sector. En este caso tenemos a un genio de las redes y doctor, que os presento a Frederick. Bienvenido.
Venga, gracias.
Y gracias por aceptar.
Muchas gracias.
Good to see you again.
Frederick va a ser el encargado de transmitir todas vuestras preguntas, ya sean levantando la mano a través del micrófono o a través de las redes sociales con el hashtag FICOT15. Así que tienes un público difícil, pero que se puede sacar mucho jugo de él. Entonces,
vamos a intentar sacarle jugo a ella gracias a vosotros.
Muy
Intentaré
bien.
también traducir
Sí.
algo de lo que diga porque me han comentado que esto no va muy bien.
podéis preguntar en español o en inglés, y si es en español, he'll translate the Spanish questions for you. Traducirá las
Gracias.
preguntas. Así que Frederick, Jessica, el público y este escenario es tuyo.
A jugar.
Great. Should
Let's
we have a
go
seat?
then. Yeah, come on. Let's take seat. First of all, thank you for coming here and for your chat, that I guess that is very good and very inspiring for people that see this on startups, because it's not so usual being in touch with a large company as Bayer is, and with somebody so involved in digital as you are. And I think that that's the point, is that it's a good opportunity having you to share all the ideas. And the main question for me is how did you jump from this gray side that Pau mentioned of regulatory affairs to digital? I mean, you have to do something in the middle, no?
How do you get a job in digital when you started working in digital, it didn't exist? Great question. So when I started working in regulatory affairs, I came from a public health background. Do we have any public health experts in the house? Public health, wonderful.
Public
This
health.
is great, wonderful. Public health is looking at the health and well-being of the community. So medicine is one person, public health is the group. And how do you do that? It's data, it's information, it's biostatistics and epidemiology. So that data background is really important. So when I got into regulatory affairs, it was all the data to show a new medicine was safe and effective, that it was safe and it worked. And from regulatory affairs, you work with the regulators and say, how do we deliver a safe product that can help patients? And then after regulatory affairs, if you're going to put $1 billion and 10 years into making a medicine, you want to make sure it gets to people. So I moved to Germany and was part of a team called Market Access. And Market Access looks at the health economics data to say, what is the value of this medicine for a country? And it's different by country, by population. So again, it's on the data. So I think for anyone out there that wants a career in this ambiguous digital space, focus on the data, focus on the numbers. If you have a foundation in statistics and analytics, there's really a great opportunity for you to evolve your career across many different areas.
Bueno, más o menos la pregunta que le he hecho es cómo ella saltó esto de la parte regulatoria, que es una parte muy seria, muy gris, al ser digital. Y él nos ha comentado que su evolución fue lógica en tanto en cuanto Mucha parte de regulatorio tenía origen en bases de datos y en datos, y el salto hacia todos estos datos, cómo compartirlos, cómo llevarlos, cómo manejarlos, es importante, y así hizo esta transición a lo digital. How do you see the future for these companies that really are so motivated as Bayer is in embracing digital? You said maybe in 10 years, maybe we will disappear, but is really that, do you see that really is so important?
If you don't embrace digital, you won't be a company. You know, you have to be digital now to continue to be competitive.
O sea, el tema es si las empresas realmente tienen que ser digitales o no, y evidentemente es imperativo. Ahora la pregunta va a ser sobre startups. ¿Cómo puede dirigirse una startup a Bayer? ¿Cómo puede realmente hacer una propuesta de valor y ayudar a Bayer en esto, aliarse? ¿Cómo pueden las empresas españolas, en este caso, acercarse a Bayer? How could a Spanish company, a startup, just get in touch with Bayer and then making these agreements that you were mentioning that are important?
Good question.
Is that good for them?
So I mentioned Barcelona earlier. I'm going to mention Barcelona again. Our team in Barcelona has started a Grants for Apps program. And this is the first year that we're doing it. We opened our doors at Bayer, and we've brought in startups to actually work inside of Bayer. So they're independent, individual startups, but they work inside of Bayer. So they can sit down at lunch with an expert with 30 years of regulatory experience and have a conversation and get expertise that otherwise they wouldn't have access to, or marketing experts with contacts across product supply and with different external vendors. So it's an opportunity to bring startups into our business directly and find ways to help partner and develop.
Bayer tiene un programa llamado Grants for Apps que en España está basado en Barcelona, por el que las startups o las nuevas iniciativas entran en contacto con la compañía, y es entonces sencillo interactuar con gente de regulatory, de la parte legal, digamos, de las cuestiones legales, o incluso de la parte de marketing, para de esta forma poder evolucionar, no solo validar el modelo, sino también intentar este partnership, esta relación con Bayer, llevarla hacia adelante. Another interesting thing that I think is well, I guess that your work is trying to promote digital around the world from Bayer. Which is the most interesting part of your job here?
Madrid,
¿Qué es lo más chulo?
Yes. The most interesting part of my job is seeing the differences between countries. I was in China a couple weeks ago, and we had a big digital meeting, and Alibaba, who you heard from yesterday, and Tencent were there. And the digital environment is so different there. You know, they have the highest mobile phone usage in the world. There's not quite as much concern about data privacy as there is in Europe. It's a very different environment. And it's the same when you go to the US, another completely different environment. So seeing the differences between countries is fascinating. Every country knows they need to do better in digital, but they're all going about it in different ways.
And do you think that you could share this vision with all the startups or all the companies you are helping, or you are making agreements?
Yeah, I think the secret is that it's impossible right now to make a solution that will work in all of those countries. The governments have different rules, the customers have different habits. What is really important is to find a solution that is interoperable, that can connect together with other solutions, and to find ways to move beyond disruption. We talk about digital disruption so much. You know, you've heard digital disruption a lot over the last days, I'm sure. We all talk about disruption. What we forget to talk about is how to take those pieces that were disrupted, that were broken, and bring them back together. And finding the digital solutions that help us bring those pieces back together, to take what was disrupted and reconnect it, that's going to be the sweet spot for the future. And since we're in healthcare, I can use a healthcare example, electronic medical records. Let's take the US. In the US, we've been talking about electronic medical records for, 10, 15 years? It still doesn't work. And the reason is there's been so much disruption. Everybody has a different electronic medical record solution. If we would have had more standardization, I know it's a bad word in this field, but more standardization, more incentives to connect and have solutions that were interoperable, we'd have a functioning system by now that would be saving more lives.
Bueno, más o menos le he preguntado sobre lo que era más interesante para ella de su trabajo y es ver las diferencias entre los diferentes países, entre las diferentes soluciones que hay allí y su nivel de digitalización. Yo he puesto un ejemplo interesante que es, por ejemplo, la historia clínica electrónica, que en Estados Unidos llevan 15 años intentando que funcione, no está desarrollada y que posiblemente si hubiese estándares únicos y todo el mundo trabajase en la misma línea sería una cosa mucho más sencilla y evidentemente mejor para la salud de las personas. And well, I think that we have some person here called Laura that could ask us about questions in social networks.
Let's see what questions you have from the audience.
Las preguntas, ahora sería interesante las preguntas porque es una oportunidad que yo creo que es única para que Jessica comente cosas.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, thank you for coming. We have a question from our social medias. I'll ask first in English and then I'll traduciré al español. So the question is if there's been major differences between the workers or the employees that have been in the company for a longer time and new employees that come in the company as new workers.
Can you say the question one more time with the microphones? I didn't hear.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. We wanted to know if there were major differences between new employees and employees that have been in the company for a longer time.
Okay.
And in adapting in the
Got
company. I'll ask it in Spanish. La pregunta es si ha habido diferencias entre los trabajadores más antiguos y los nuevos en la adopción de nuevas tecnologías, etc.
Yes. Yes, you know the answer. There's a difference. Maybe I'll expand in another area. There's a difference in some of the new employees we are bringing in because they have what I call an interpreter ability. They speak nerd and they speak geek. And we need people that speak nerd and geek. We need people that are scientific and data-driven and that can understand both worlds. And there aren't many people in the existing workforce that have had to develop both of those capabilities. So we are looking more intensely for a data focus, analytics focus as we move ahead. But that doesn't mean our older employees aren't developing also. You know, we have wonderful colleagues at Bayer that have been there 20, 30, 40 years, and our people, I said it earlier, our people are our number one asset. The experience and expertise and knowledge of our people, that's what makes Bayer Bayer. Bayer is just the people that work there. And so developing all of our employees, helping all of our employees to increase their skill set helps. What other questions do we have? Yes, here. Front row. Good participation. We need one from the back row next.
Hi, good morning and thanks. I 100% agree that transformation is a people thing. I mean, the technology comes in later. I firmly believe that any digital transformation is basically an exercise in change management. Okay, so we agree on that.
Yes.
But I would like you to get a little bit more granular about 3, 5 golden rules for implementing transformation. First one being, I guess, don't be top down, but if you could take it from there, I'd be really grateful.
Sure. Actually, I'll say the opposite. For us, it was do be top down. In a big organization, we needed the top level to say, this is a priority. And our board members and CEO sent a very clear message. Digital is not another flavor of the month project. Digital is crucial to our success as a company. So for us, top down, absolutely top down. Let's see, you said top 5. So get senior level buy-in in a company. The next was find your movers and shakers, find your drivers, find the people that stay a little later in the evening, put in extra hours, that care. Because digital is a topic that people actually have strong feelings about. And when I talk to colleagues in different countries that are transitioning from traditional marketing to digital marketing, there's a spark and there's a passion. And that's more valuable than any initiative or training we can roll out, is activating those people. So senior leaders, find your ambassadors, find those people with the spark, and connect them. I think the third rule would be connect them, break down the silos. We've got amazing people in Bayer doing amazing things. But if you try to find one person out of 100,000, it's hard. So connecting those people, taking projects that work in one country and sharing with another, that's really important. So after you connect them, I'd say the fourth one is celebrate success. When you celebrate the success of one team or one country, doesn't matter how small, that sends a signal to the rest of the organization that, okay, it's time to put some extra funding, put some extra resources, invest in that area. So really celebrate successes. And the last one is, nobody's an expert in this area. Nobody knows what's right or wrong. We're all learning, we're all experimenting. And to keep that mentality that, look, we don't know if it's gonna work. We know we're gonna fail. So let's just say we know we're gonna fail at some things and give it a try. And that helps people to take a risk in their careers, to take a risk in their leadership. Because even if they fail, fantastic, we failed, let's try something else. So to help people have that comfort zone to fail. Now those are 5 tidbits for traditional big companies. I think if you're in a younger company, you started in a digital environment, you don't have to worry about it. But those would be where I'd start. Thank you. Next question, a few rows back.
Buenos días a todos.
Buenos días.
Y muchas gracias por la presentación. Vamos a ver, la última contestación casi ha contestado, pero bueno, el papel de la formación, el importante papel de la formación para esta transformación digital. La gran mayoría de las personas estamos diciendo que no es cuestión de tecnología, sino es cuestión de las personas. Pero la formación en competencias digitales no es solo cómo usar, sino es, a mi entender, es cambiar una manera de pensamiento, es pensar a través de otras claves. ¿Se ha pensado hacer, qué piensa usted acerca de tener un grupo de trabajo, digamos, entre empresas privadas y instituciones públicas, de cómo abordar concretamente la formación, como un ítem muy concreto de cómo abordar la formación en competencias digitales para los empleados de las distintas entidades? Muchas gracias.
She has more or less asked about how that is important, the digital competences. How do you acquire this in the company, and how and the learning? And if you have thought about having a working force with public institutions and your company in order to promote these digital competences into your employees, for your employees.
So the question is about how are we training, and are we working
how
with
you
governments?
train, and if you have thought about sharing this training with public institutions, just not only for you, because being an internal learning process, but also an external.
Great question. So training is something we do for everyone. But what we're starting with is offering more specific training for areas. So let's say for people in marketing, what are the skills they need to transition to understand what their agencies are selling them in digital marketing? What are those really concrete things? Now, we also know that we can develop trainings, we can hire consultants to develop trainings, we can hire universities and teams to develop trainings. But one thing we've done is gone to partnerships and gone to our partners and said, look, you're a tech company. Analytics is what you do best. Train us. Put together some trainings. Put together trainings at different levels for all different people. So we're just getting started in this area. I would say it's new for us too. We're just getting started. But our approach is very much to work with the partners that know it best, because for the tech company that partners with us, they know the value of having Bayer people understand what they're doing. It makes our relationship stronger, which leads to a better partnership in the long run. Now, your second question about would we share it with governments and more broader audiences? Absolutely. That's a fantastic suggestion. We haven't done it yet, but I'm going to take your idea and we'll see where we can start it. Thank you.
Sobre formación, la respuesta ha ido en el sentido de que lo estructuran en áreas y buscan los partners fuera, buscan gente fuera, buscan las mejores herramientas, los mejores partners, pero que es una buena idea mirar hacia gobiernos y hacia el lado público y mirar de compartir incluso este tipo de iniciativas. Más preguntas, va.
All right.
Aprovechemos.
See a question here.
Good morning. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. Please, can you tell us, or share with us these main differences you found or you had to deal with in the Chinese environment, rules, or, I don't know, habits, digital-wise? Thank you very much.
In the environment inside the company or outside the company?
Whatever you consider it. What was most surprising for you? In China.
Sobre China, ¿qué sorprende más?
Good question. I think the environment's changing very fast. So, when a government comes out with a rule, it's almost already outdated. And by the time, similar to a government, in a big company, by the time you roll out a new regulation, it's almost outdated too. So the speed at which we are adapting is much faster. And I think that's a little surprising because having worked in regulatory and market access and other environments, there's a little more consistency. But what was also surprising is people want to experiment. So often you hear companies say, oh, the government won't let me, regulators won't let me. I don't buy it. If you have a good idea, the partners want to work with you and to find a good solution, because we all want to help Spain, we all want to help our family and friends, we all want better solutions. So I was surprised by how willing institutions are to try something different. If you have an idea, they'll try a pilot with you. And that was a good surprise. Good question.
Una sorpresa es que en China la velocidad es mucho mayor, hay mucho menos regulaciones y la gente, las instituciones están abiertos a probar ideas y se dirigen a ellos para intentar probar cosas. Es interesante.
All right. What other questions do we have? Do we have any in the back?
Más preguntas.
Oh, you have one over here? The front row again. The front row is really good. You're winning the Gold Star Award. Good morning. Go ahead.
Vaya. It doesn't work. No va.
All right. Microphone.
Well, right now, can you tell us any of your projects that has been a challenge, a concrete project in Bayer about digital transformation, so we can see how was the process or the consequences,
or the impact, no?
Okay, the impact. Okay.
So I'll talk about one of my favorites. You heard me say grants for apps earlier. Grants for apps we have in Barcelona, Spain. We also have grants for apps as a global project, and we give money, C-suite mentorship, so chief marketing officer, chief medical officer, and space in our offices. And it's this amazing program where we find startups and they apply from, I think this year we had applications from 48 countries. And we ended up taking startups from China, from the US, from Germany, from Estonia, a very diverse group of startups, and bringing them in. So what this did, it had a big impact on our company culture, on how we work with young companies, on the awareness of our employees of how they can do things differently. But getting it started was not easy because you start with this idea and you have to accept that you don't know how it's going to work. It may work, it may not. And in a big company that makes investments very carefully, it's hard to say, we don't know. So getting the buy-in, getting the support to experiment for the first year was an incredible amount of work. And we had, I mentioned earlier, find the people that are passionate. We had one person, Jesus de Val Rosales, and Jesus, God bless Jesus. Jesus was so passionate about grants for apps. Everybody he talked to caught the bug. He was contagious. And he had the business case, he had the plan, but it was his passion and his enthusiasm that really helped open doors and change minds. So, the challenge is changing the way you've always done things. The solution is people. Great question.
El éxito de Grants for Apps, una vez más, la solución es la gente. Let's see in the screen another question they told me that is about, this is interesting, it's about the music. They ask about if they are in the music industry, if there are one of some markets, of different markets, digital markets, because they are together because of the technology. They have the same technology basis, but and they ask in music, but probably we could ask in any other industry about if instead of having the same technology, do all the proposals behave in the same way? How they work?
Yeah. That's a good question. So it really doesn't matter what industry you're in anymore. If it's healthcare or the music industry, it's all a data game. Every business is now a data business. And so absolutely, we looked at the music industry first. And actually our CIO, our Chief Information Officer at Bayer, Daniel Hardet, he was the Chief Information Officer at a big music company for many years. And so he knows firsthand what it's like to go from cassette tapes to CDs to MP3s to streaming. And that model of going from purchasing something physical, from actually buying something to purchasing a service, we're seeing that across all industries and even in healthcare. Payers are starting to say it's not about buying a pill, it's about buying an outcome. And now we have the data to help us change our models.
El cambio es de un formato físico a un formato digital. And in pharma, this paradigm in your industry that is going beyond the pill, do you see it near? Do you see it far away? Because it's one of those ideas that everybody is talking about. But
yeah, we have to go beyond the pill. The pill's not enough anymore.
Yeah.
Most people don't take medicines. So if we spend 10 years and $1 billion to make an amazing medicine, and then you don't take it, or you take it at the wrong time, or you take it with something you're not supposed to take it with, guess what? It doesn't work. And so we're all very excited about new tools and digital solutions to help make the pill, help make medicines work better. And often this has to do with looking at the data. How does it fit into your life, into your farm, into your veterinary practice? What data do we have to make our chemical products more effective? Good questions.
Es una pregunta sobre en farma se habla mucho de ir más allá de la pastilla, ¿no? Como evolución de la farma y ella evidentemente ha comentado que está en el camino de convertirse no solo en fabricar la pastillita y darla, sino en mejorar los efectos, mejorar el seguimiento de los tratamientos, en tener más información y en mejorar la vida de las personas. ¿Alguna otra pregunta interesante más aquí delante?
What's the cheering for? Was it the crowd shot? All right, where's the question?
Hello, good morning. It's here.
Ah, good morning. Oh, you're saying you have a question in the back. Okay, the next question will go to this young lady in the back. Thank you. All right, right here.
Question, venga. Arriba.
I want to take the opportunity to get from you some insights on your digital transformation for the marketing side of the business. I'm especially interested in 3 areas. How have you transformed your team? Some insights on big mistakes to avoid. And also, what for you will be the key analytics to look for in the marketing area? Thank you.
Good questions. Yeah, digital marketing is the easiest place for us to focus on because we see that engagement directly. You know, I hope that a year from now, we don't talk about digital marketing because all marketing is digital, you know, that it fully integrates. But we're starting with, you know, we start with the basics like everybody else. How are people engaging with you? How are you collecting the data? How are we using that data? How are we working with our agencies? That's a big area that's changing. Maybe come find me after the session and we can go into a more marketing talk because that could be another hour and a half just for that question. But I can say what's been amazing at Bayer is our digital marketing heads at crop science, at consumer care, and in pharma have been coming together because the skills you need for digital marketing are the same across those areas. And so it's been a really nice experience to bring those heads of digital marketing from the different divisions together, and they're able to share solutions, share processes, and even mix up their teams to help improve the entire business. Great question. All right, now this group of noisy, wonderful people in the back.
El grupo de arriba, venga.
And it's going to take a few minutes to get the microphone down to you.
Hola.
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 You're now the rock star.
Venga, la pregunta, chicos.
Buenos días. Muchas gracias por venir. La pregunta es que ¿cómo cree usted que podría influir las nuevas tecnologías en el mundo del deporte? Gracias.
It's about the influence of new technologies in the sports world.
Sorry, say it again.
The influence of the new technologies in the sports world. Sports.
New technology in sports. Wow. Well, this is a great question. So I'll give you applause now too. So, Bayer has a football team, Bayer Leverkusen, right? So Bayer Leverkusen is the football team that was actually started by our employees. So football and sports is actually one of our favorite topics. The same way we can improve monitoring and improve output in the healthcare world, we're seeing those exact tools in the sports world. So if you go talk with Adidas, the health solutions they have for professional athletes are what you would see in the top hospital of the world. They have very high-tech solutions, measuring how much oxygen, measuring what muscles are being used, measuring response time. We're seeing a huge amount of technology coming into play to help improve the performance of athletes. So Nike and Adidas and other players are heavily engaged in this area. What's really interesting is to see which pieces of those technology actually funnel down from professional athletes to us. because a lot of the times the investment is there for professional athletes. So we can invest a lot of money and technology to make a solution for these very important professional football stars. And because of that investment, we come up with new technologies that then make it down to help us in healthcare monitoring or in our devices in everyday life. So we see some cool developments there, and you'll start to see them coming to the market, probably from those same vendors, from your Nike and Adidas players. They start them first with the professional athletes, and then we see them come to us in the store.
Bueno, la pregunta venía sobre el deporte y bueno, es interesante por el tema de que Bayer también tiene el equipo de fútbol que ha comentado antes Pau muy bien y la monitorización de los deportistas profesionales sobre todo cada vez es más importante y esto también hay una vertiente de tecnología y sanidad que es implicante y que cada vez se potencia más, aparte de la cantidad de inversión que tiene el deporte profesional hoy en día para mejorar rendimientos. Y para eso, evidentemente, surgen soluciones tecnológicas en las que hay mucha gente trabajando y que, evidentemente, son parte de este futuro. ¿Preguntas? ¿Otra pregunta?
We've got one right here.
Esta chica. Allá hay una. ¿Alguien más? ¿Last question?
Yeah.
Vale.
Maybe
Last
stand
question.
up.
Una última pregunta. La última.
Okay, so there's one
última,
here.
La última, la chica.
Standing. And then I saw one more right here, the gentleman with his hand up.
Allá va el micro. Ok.
Yeah, great.
La última.
Hola.
Hola.
Quería preguntar si es muy competitivo el comercio digital.
¿Perdón?
Quería preguntar si es muy competitivo el comercio digital.
If e-commerce is very competitive or not. If e-commerce.
Oh, yes, yes. E-commerce, yes. This is a good area for you to go into and study. E-commerce is an incredibly competitive area, and all businesses that are operating in the traditional brick and mortar space are trying to figure out how the model's changing, because it's not just going to e-commerce. That's not the solution. You know, you've all been in the store and looked at something on your iPhone and then, tried it on in the store and then bought it online. And so there's a very integrated relationship between traditional commerce and e-commerce and how consumer behavior works between the two. It's not just a shift, it's very much an integrated model. So we're still struggling to figure out exactly how that works, because in every market it's a little different, but we know it's not just a complete shift. We know that now it's a much more integrated, nuanced change. Good question. And then there was one more right here, and then that's our last question. So you've got the last one for us.
Mientras tanto, mientras llega el micro, para los que no tienen traductor, es el tema de la compra online. Cada vez más se da el proceso de ver online el producto, ir a la tienda a comprarlo. No hay un cambio directo, pero sí que hay una transición y un movimiento y sobre todo una complementación. That I think that is a good point, because in fact we are living in a world that is not digital or online or offline. So we are living in the same world that has these two sides that we have to learn to live with, ¿no? Que tenemos que aprender a vivir con el lado digital y el lado tradicional, digamos. And the last question?
So good question back there.
Quería preguntar cuáles serían los... Sí, hola. Quería preguntar cuáles son vuestros consejos para el tema de estrategia digital en la pequeña empresa.
For small, medium enterprises, which would be your ideas, your tips for them?
For what?
Small, medium enterprise, in digital tips.
Don't try to do it all at once. So for SME, for small, medium enterprises, if you want to work with a big company, know what you're good at, know what's your bread and butter, and be okay with saying, look, we only do this piece, but here's how it can fit together. So look for those opportunities where you can help connect and improve interoperability, because every big company is struggling with fragmentation, with silos, with trying to connect the dots. And there's a whole industry coming up trying to help us do that. For smaller and medium-sized companies, you've got more agility. You can help us try things differently. You can do what we can't. So embrace the agility, embrace the opportunity for interoperability and connectedness, and look for those, opportunities that we have at Bayer or other big companies. Look for opportunities to collaborate and partner, because we need partners very much in this area. So since that is our last question, or do you want to translate first?
No, okay, it's good. I think that we will pass the
so our time is
mic to Pau, who's waiting for us.
Before I give up the microphone, I want to give a big thank you to all of you for your questions today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paulo.
Well, Jessica, Frederick, it's been a great pleasure. Ha sido un placer. Me gustaría explicaros lo que viene ahora. Tardaré un minuto y os prometo que seréis libres. Básicamente agradecer, thank you again Jessica and Frederick. Ahora pasan una serie de cosas en este foro y creo que hay que aprovecharlas. Ahora mismo, cuando salgáis, os estarán esperando azafatas de grupo para guiaros por el palacio y os cuento qué tenéis. Tenéis hasta las 12, podéis pasear por los stands que están saliendo a mano derecha. Hay temas de formación, de futuro, de talento. También podéis subir a la tercera planta. Hay experiencias. Es la sala polivalente y tenéis experiencias con robots, con realidad virtual y parecido. Y, eso sí, a las 12 en punto todo cambia, porque a las 12 empiezan 2 conferencias en español en la sala Roma y en la sala Londres, para que podáis elegir, sí, en español, muy bien. Me gusta ser parte culturalmente de que os alegréis de que sean en español. Muy brevemente, la conferencia de las 12 de la sala Roma va sobre la transformación digital en el mundo de la prensa, mientras que la conferencia de la sala Londres va sobre desarrollo innovador en la publicación digital. Gracias por haber estado aquí y Ficot sigue.